we're going to make another video. This is about the reason we are going to try to find a reason that why the coronavirus affects to old people, why it takes more life for old people. And I can show you how this has done the coronavirus. If we just look, we have some data, and we're going to look. If we go to the update, I know there are so many people, lost their lives, but if we check the ratio by age, we see a difference. And some people will, you know, believe this is due to immunity, which decreases when someone get older. But the situation was different with a similar kind of flu, Spanish flu, which was this a pandemic happened in 1918. In that time, the old people were spared; they were less affected. So, what I think is this virus doesn't just take life of people due to immunity, but there's something else going on, and we will try to find out. So many people's totals, this much um, have been, tested and found positive so far. Of course, there will be 10 times more because now everyone is being tested and that much death. We will look at the age. What's the relationship between age and in the beginning we just have a little look, and it's a huge numbers. And the USA, it's shocking. And then we go to Spain. Italy has reached 24,000, France, Germany, and then it's the UK 16,000. So it's spreading all over. But what we look is we try to find out what is this death rate. But I'm going to look age. We're going to try to find out why the old people is taking more life of the old people. So if we look at this one, this is the data from New York City. New York City Health, right? And it was updated on 14th. And 0 to 17 years old, 0.4%. Out of 1,000 is 4 children. So 3 of them was underlying condition. Number of death 3. So all were underlying conditions. But that as 0 to 17. So this is, I think, this is a special thing going on. I think this is something to do with the immunity, and immunity is due to exposure of the virus already in the form of vaccination. What that's what. Sorry, I believe because the I will show you the Spanish flu. It didn't spare to the children. It was the same like it was taking life of the children the same ratio 0 to 10, and it was very lethal. And 18 to 14, what happened is because this is the broad range, right? Quite broad range. But I will show you in the China they have narrow range. We will find out a little bit more information. Although number this is 4.5%, right? So and then again 45 to 64 is 23%. That's 6 times almost, 5 times of this one almost. And then this age range is the same. So 45 to 74 we can say the same, but plus 75 is double. With age, immunity decreases. That's one proposal. It doesn't decrease, especially skin changes. Skin get more porous, weak, and that could be another reason that virus is penetrating in the lung surface, because the lung surface skin is less protective due to aging. That could be one factor. And the young children, their lungs are brand new, and a virus find difficult to penetrate. That's one speculation, one proposal we can present. um, but this is what we are proposing here. But if we look at the Spanish flu, the situation was reported differently. It was reported differently, right, with the age. Um, so age-specific mortality. What the writers have reported, uh, that I just show you one graph. I can show you at the end where they said this one. If we just redistribution of, this is all cases, so we're not going to look at this one, but we will look where they have removed everything. So this is pandemic related, right? So pandemic related death, if you look, the children are not spared. So this is 1 year, and until this 5 years, there are a lot of children dying. From 5 to, if I take from 5 to 15, yes, I'm not sure we can see the graph, but you can look at the graph. The 5 to 15 is less, but above 5, a lot of death, and then from 15 to next age up till 28 here, or 29, yeah, 30. So this age, the death is quite huge. So especially this age, right? And there were different reasons speculated. If we just look, we look at just one paper and see what was the reason. In this paper, they proposed two reasons, but we will look again the um, why young people died more during Spanish flu, right? So we're just going to look. So it's a spelling I will correct. Why did they kill many otherwise healthy young? So we're going to look a little bit, and then we will compare what is going on here. Hopefully we find something, right? So why did it happen? That's sad, but why did it happen? Vaccination is underway. This is the story. We don't want to look. We just look at this one. So the U.S. awarded the men and women who died in the service during the World War First one such a certificate many decades later. The one on author, this one was found by grandnephew who has never known him. His grandnephew, the Thomas Richard and the Robert Sartini. So this is the one story. This was a certificate which was issued a decade later, 10 years later. Then what happened with the certificate? The certificate was message from the past. It called out the time as I'm going to make it bigger. Can I? Yeah. So the certificate was message from the past. It called out to me as I had just received the credential of certificate geano- genealogist, and had spent most of my career as a scientist tracing gene that regulates immune cells. What had happened to Aldolfo? So what happened? This is the boy, and an Italian immigrant to the U.S. Adolfo uh, Sartini died from the flu while in the military, courtesy of Robert Sartini. So this was the certificate. He was in the military and he died a decade later. His relative received it. A bit of the identified Alpha ship listing I'm going to fix a little bit. Okay. So a bit of the identified Adolfo ship listing, which showed that he was born in 1889. So that's from where now the scientists proposed something in Italy and immigrated to Boston in 1903. So in 1913 he immigrated there, right? His draft card revealed that he worked at a country club in the Boston suburb of the Newton. To learn more, Robert brought a 93 book entitled Newton War Memorial on eBay. So this is uh, right. Book was bought by his relative. The book provided clues about him. Adolfo was drafted and ordered to report to Camp Devens, 35 miles from the Boston, in March of the 1918. So he was ordered to report, right, to campus. Ordered to report, right. He was later transferred to an engineer training regiment. This is what his relative found. To follow up, I posted a query the U.S. Military Forum. Here, the military history enthusiastically explained that the Army Corps of the Engineer had trained men at a campus, this one campus, Humphrey, in Virginia. Perhaps Adolfo had gone to this campus, right? So this is the what he estimates, he thinks. While a mild flu circulated during the spring of the 19th, the deadly strain spread on the U.S. soil on the Tuesday, August 27, when three Navy dock workers at the Commonwealth Fair in Boston fell ill. Within 48 hours, dozens more men were infected. 10 days later, the flu was decimating Camp Davins, a renowned pathologist from the Johns Hopkins, William, was brought in. So this is the way epidemic spreads. It spreads very rapidly. He realized that this must be some new kind of infection or plague. So because they have heard about before the plague, so just within 48 hours, dozens more men was infected. 48 hours, just 2 days, and within three people from three virus meniscal agents that can pass through the fine filters were poorly understood. Of course, that time it was not understood. With men mobilizing for the World War, the flu spread to the military installations throughout the US and to the general population. Sorry, it hit camp in the mid-September. This one camp Humphrey and killed more than 400 men there over the next month. See how it's spreading. Next month it has killed 400 people. Um, this included this boy, Adolfo Sartini, aged 29 and a half. Adolfo body was brought back to the Boston. Um, sorry, his grave is marked by a sculpture of the lower half, right, triple column, uh, epitomizing his premature death, right, epitomizing his premature death. The legacy of the victim of the 1990 flu. The quest to understand the 1990 flu fueled many scientists' advances, including the discovery of the influenza virus. However, the virus itself did not cause most of the death. Instead, what happened is a fraction of the individuals infected by the virus were susceptible to pneumonia due to secondary infection by the bacteria. So that's one thing the scientists thinking that the virus damaged the lungs. They were exposed to bacteria. After that, they were prone to bacterial infection, and the majority of people died to the bacterial infection because there was no antibiotic at that time. In an era before antibiotic, pneumonia could be fatal, so pneumonia was fatal. So this can happen with coronavirus as well. That after coronavirus will attack, and then lungs will be damaged because coronavirus will multiply inside inside sorry, I'm coughing, inside the lung. So what will happen? What will happen is that it can cause inflammation there due to the reaction of the immune system, because immune system will um, try to fight with the virus by the cytokine storms. That will cause sorry, I'm coughing too. So that was called an inflammation. Recent analysis revealed that the death in the 1918 was highest among the individuals born in the years around 1889. So that's what they found, that the people who were born in 1889, their death was highest. So if 1918 this pandemic started, right? So if someone is born in 1889, how much age will be? It will be 18 plus 11, 29 years age. That was the age of this boy, Adolfo. So why the age is the factor? An earlier flu pandemic emerged then and involved the virus that was likely to be different subtype than the 1918 strain. So they said there was an earlier epidemics which started before, which happened before, and this virus was likely of a different subtype. So this virus was different subtype. The 1918 mean virus changed by a different kind of different subtype. It was a type, but it was a different subtype. The type of the virus of the same virus, but it was a different. These analyses emerged and novel hypothesis discussed below. So now we're going to present hypothesis. What is the hypothesis? It was Russian flu which happened before. Yeah, this one, 1889. So individual born in 1889. This was the flu. That's what time happened. This time the another flu happened. That was called Russian flu. These analyses emerged. The novel hypothesis discussed below about the susceptibility of the healthy young individuals in 1918. So 1918, the healthy individual was more susceptible, and this was the hypothesis. What is the hypothesis? So this is the grave of the boy, I think, and the tombstones, the Adolfo Sartini. See, these are the memories, memory of the people. If we don't make such, memories, we forgot. So I think these are good things. Yeah, you forget the people. You don't forget your heroes, your people. Yeah. So the exposure to an influenza virus at a young age increases the resistance. So when you have exposure to the influenza virus at the young age, increases resistance to a subsequent infection. Now thing is, because this is like same kind of like there is a robbery in a shop, and this person is robber, right? And you try to fight, and then there is a damage because you want to fight. But if you don't know, then you won't fight. If you think it's a customer, you're not going to fight, right? So this is the what happened is that scientists think they were exposed before influenza, and the body has a memory against influenza. Body knows this is a virus, and the immune system wanted to fight. So it wanted to fight so badly that what happened is the immune system produced cytokine storms, and it causes more inflammation. And as a result of inflammation, more secretions were produced in the lungs. Lungs were filled with fluid. They were drowned, and then even there was blood coming from during coughing. So the immune system reaction was very bad. And why it was bad? Because the body know it. But this is the purpose of vaccine, that your body understand a virus is it has a memory, and the next virus get killed. The next virus get neutralized. The virus don't die, but they become harmless, right? So why this increased resistance? Right. So due to increased resistance, there was more inflammation. Right. Inflammation is the reaction of the body to neutralize the virus, neutralize the foreign particles, even the allergens. So that's why I think for the coronavirus, after 7 days, if we give like steroid and other anything, which any medicine, if doctors gave, right, doctor going to give, which reduces inflammation, that's going to help, because inflammation causes secretions in the lungs and then blocks the airways. That causes problem. Also the infection can occur, so subsequent infection with the same or the similar virus, yes, with the same or similar virus, body showed more resistance, and that's what happened with the young people. On the flip side, a person who was a child around the time of the pandemic, so if the person was a child, and the other side, when pandemic happened, if person was a child, may not be resistant to other dissimilar viruses, so he was not resistant to other dissimilar viruses. So the viruses were dissimilar, the one pandemic which happened before. But if someone is a child, it's not that, is not that old, then the person will not have exposed to the virus. Then what will happen? Flu virus falls, right. So then what happen is, flu virus falls into groups that are related to uh, evolutionary. We're talking about flu viruses, they has a groups, and due to evolution they keep changing, right? And the virus that circulated when Adolfo was baby was like in what is called group 2. So we take this boy group 2. So he was a baby at that time, was likely whereas in 1918 virus was in group 1. So we give the group 1 to the 1918, right? Group 2 are those babies who are born in this year 1889. I show you the again 1889. Yeah, so this boy was 1889, so he was 29 years, it's 29 and a half in this year. Yes, so group 1 we gave to 1918 flu, right? And then what group and other group, group 1, group 1 is whereas the 1918 virus was in group 1, yeah, we gave to 1918 virus group 1, or group 2 we gave group 2 where the 1918 virus was in group 1. The virus that circulated Adolfo was baby 1889, that is the group 2, right? So this virus, so we are giving the name to the virus, right? The group 2 virus, and then we give group 1. Whatever group you want, you can give. Although we can, they have given the more group number to the previous virus when the Adolfo was born in 1889, and the second is the group 1, right? Just for simplicity, just for you to understand. Adolfo would therefore not be expected to have a good ability to respond to this group 1. So jab group 1 came, which was 1918, he was expected to have a good ability. Yes, good ability. Why good ability? Because he was exposed before this the other kind of virus. It was not the same, but a little bit different, some type of the virus. So but some sequence of the virus will be the same. You know that we're talking about RNA, the genetic material. So body would have a memory, body would recognize and would try to fight, but I fight it very badly. So what happened is, in fact, the exposure to the group 2 virus as young child may have resulted in dysfunctional response to the group 1. So then when 1918 came, the response was very different, and that is why the group 2 virus as a young child, if he was exposed, it resulted in dysfunctional response to the group 1 virus in 1918. And what happened then, condition got worse, so exacerbating his condition. Support for this hypothesis was seen. No, this is just a hypothesis, and we're going to talk about whether this hypothesis is right, if it is right, why it is right, or whether it is wrong. Support for this hypothesis was seen with the emergence of Hong Kong flu in 1968. So after that, another flu came. This was called Hong Kong. In China, it was a group 2, and severe. It was in group 2 and has severe effects on people who had children around the time of 1918 group 1 flu. So again, to this virus, they have given the group 2. So what is called group 2? The virus that circulated was baby-like. So what they are saying, the virus, again, this is the same kind of virus, same type. Like this is a different type. We say group 1, but this virus again came. This one, 1889 Russian flu one. When this group came, because this virus is different to this one, which was 1918. So what happened is, support for this hypothesis was the emergence of the Hong Kong flu virus in 1968. It was in group 2 and had severe effect on people who had been children around the time in 1918 flu. So children who were exposed to this virus, they have a severe reaction. Now, why the reaction is? One theory is like when virus attacks the body, we will talk about it, but it will produce antibodies, right? And you have antibodies, right? Like blood group, you have a blood group, then you will have antibodies. But it should not be like that. If we give a different blood group to persons, and antibodies can react with antigens, and then it can give a severe reaction, and the person can die. But is that the same situation? We can't say that, but what scientists said here is that immune system was changed this way. I think it's some kind of reaction between the antibodies which the virus created before, but then different virus came, and then when body wanted to react, those antibodies or antigens, they were different, and then the reaction between those previous antibodies and the current one causes more inflammation, and it causes severe reaction, and that severe reactions cause damage in the lungs, which resulted in the bacterial infection. That's one theory, right? Now, is that a theory right? Uh, is that proposal right? Well, scientists say this is one proposal, right? Just a proposal, we will say that this can happen, right? And then what causes the common recurring illness to convert to the pandemic? Um, now, before going to this one, uh, thing is, when we vaccinate people against the flu, right? So we get them a virus, right? That raw virus or a live virus is called live virus vaccine. Then that virus, we will talk about more about vaccines, what kind of vaccine we give, and some information about this, right? But the thing is, when we vaccinate people, then when next virus comes, usually it gives you immunity, and it doesn't happen that next virus, you have vaccinated before, the next virus next virus can damage you more if you're vaccinated, and it can damage less if you're not vaccinated, right? But what happened here is that if you're exposed to a virus before, which is a different type, subtype, and then you are exposed to a virus which is another type, then you struggle more, right? Your immune system struggle more and causes more damage. Now, my question is that can the vaccine do this? Like if you get vaccinated, sorry, um, then in the future a different kind of virus comes, and then your body reacts more. Um, well, if the vaccine is not right, and the proposal like Spanish flu, right? That's a proposal. Um, it can happen, but the thing is, the scientists know these things, and that's why it takes so long to make vaccines, right? A year at least, but it takes many years, right? Because scientists study these things, and they don't make such vaccines, right? But in nature, the thing is, the virus do exist in nature like that, they changes. But suppose we make a vaccine for a flu, right? And then can a virus change the same way in the future? the way it changes in 1918 and then in the Hong Kong flu? Well, I don't have answer of this question, but scientists, I pretty much, I would expect the scientists will consider all these things. They would make a vaccine which will help in any future more fatal virus as virus keep changing, the flu virus. So this is a coronavirus. It's next time if it changes, there is a possibility it can be less lethal, but it can be more as well. So because these things are in control of nature, we can't say anything where the virus is going. The reality is it has become more lethal. Although the previous virus, the coronavirus was SARS, it was more fatal, but this virus changed and it spreads more, so it's taking more lives. But the thing is, it can change further and it can be more fatal than this one. No, the vaccine can help if the new strains come, because there is a possibility if we make a vaccine which is the same kind of that virus, a live virus. If we make a vaccine and in the future the similar kind of virus changes, the similar kind of coronavirus, but it changes, and theoretically we should have a more immunity, theoretically, if that will be the same type. But if that is a different type, then then you know what happened in 1918. Then it can go other ways, from the history, from the past, it can go other ways. But these things scientists will consider. That's why they have to spend so much time that the vaccines is going to be this type that your immunity will work in your favor. It won't work against you. So right. So and now we're talking about 2018 and beyond. So things finished as one proposal and sport, right. So what causes common recurring illness to convert a pandemic is massively lethal to healthy individuals. What causes common recurring illness to convert to pandemic? This is massively lethal to healthy individuals. Could it happen again? We are talking about until the reason for the death of the young adult in 1918 is better understood. So we try to understand. Could it happen again? No, the thing is, it did happen, but when was this article written? As I'm going to show you that scientist was worried about. Oh, where are we going? Uh, I hope everything come back. Oh, right. Mhm. I think I just pause it. This is stop. Okay, I managed to take it back. Right, I managed to take it back. So I was looking for how old is that. It's pretty old. So this is they're sending ads, right? It's a magazine. Um, and the article is in the magazine. But if you just look at the comments, then I did check. Uh, oh my God, you don't like the magazine? Oh, the ads. So if we check just the comments, I did check. It's more than 2 years ago, right? So it was 2 years ago, and what the writer is talking about here. Um, we look again. Okay, so here we have gone through this one. Gone through this one. Gone through exposure to the influenza virus at a young age. We have studied that one, right? What causes? I'm going to hide this. What causes a common recurring illness? So why the people get ill again? Um, um, oh God. Okay. What causes common recurring illness to the convert to a pandemic? Why the pandemic happen? Mean is disease is coming back, virus like flu is changing, different kind of flu is coming, but why it converted to pandemic? Could it happen again until the reason for the death of the young adult in 19 is better understood? So if we understand that, it can help. A similar scenario can it happen, right? Exp- Expert fear. So the writer wrote, yes, they do fear. A new pandemic of influenza and other infection agent could be kill millions. So that was the what in the article. This is 2 years old article. It does say yes, we can kill millions, and that's what happened now. It's happening. Bill Gates is leading the funding um, to fund the effort to prevent this. Well, this person tried, right? Um, Flu vaccines are generated each year by monitoring the strains. You know the flu vaccines, so they are being generated, circulating month before flu season. At that time, lag of a month allow for vaccine production at time lag because it takes some time to come a new strain, right? And then you can produce a vaccine. But vaccine takes time, like more than a year. The virus can change before, so there's another, race. It's a marathon between virus and vaccine, and isn't that's why we don't have a vaccine, because there is a race. Virus might change even before the vaccine arrives, because the influenza virus mutates rapidly, right? That's when the lag allows for the appearance of the virus variant that are poorly targeted by the vaccine. So that's the drawback of the vaccine, because the time we will have a vaccine is possibility the virus will have might have mutated, and then it can be mutated into more lethal form. It can be less, but it can be more lethal. We don't know this. In addition, flu pandemic often arise from virus gene resortment. This involves the joining together of genetic material. So this can happen. We have now flu viruses, already, and what can happen is if inside the body someone has a flu and then at the same time they get a coronavirus inside the cells, the coronavirus and other flu, they can change each other genetic material, and that can be more fatal because body won't know it, because it will be different virus, and if that happens the virus can be a quite different virus. It can have a different property, it can spread more rapidly, that as worst case scenario it can be cause more reaction in the body, but it can be less fatal as well. So 50-50 both way can go from the different viruses which can occur suddenly and unpredictably. So it can happen suddenly and unpredictably. So what is the need here? We need to understand quite a lot. The scientists need to work to understand the immune system, and then be fast in making vaccines or making right vaccines, which has a good effect on immunity and can prevent future new strains of viruses, right? And that immunity does help. But what I think is, even the vaccination we had before, it did help this time to the children, especially less than 9. Because I will show you the after that what happened in China. They have a more immunity. So there is a I speculate that maybe they were vaccinated, their immunity was strong. If there is a because in this epidemics, the children were not spared in 1918. No, this is one just proposal, until there is a large scale trial. um, but what trial we can do with the children? Children are, spared from this, not completely, but very less target of this virus. So there is something. Children has immunity, and immunity is of course due to something, maybe due to vaccination we have. So that's what we will do. Can influenza virus is currently killing chickens in Asia. So that's the old, maybe 2-3 years ago they are talking about, and has recently killed human who had contact with chickens. This virus is a subtype. So we're talking about subtype. We're talking about subtype that has not been known to cause pandemic. So it is a subtype that now has been found, named to cause pandemic. Means it spreads very quickly everywhere. It's not yet demonstrated the ability of transmitted from one person to one other person. However, whether the ability will arise during ongoing virus evolution can be predicted. So the ability can change. That's what happened with the coronavirus. Is right. Says can't be predicted. So what was this swine flu influenza 2 years ago? So um, If we just look right close, I will show you what flu he's talking about. All flu with dates. Right, so if we say all flu globe, all flu virus, all flu virus, flu virus, past pandemics, we can look that one. So look whichever he's talking about. He says 19. Yeah, he's talking, but this is 2009. H1 pandemic. No one even, we don't even remember. Yeah, this is 2009, 19. I think he's 18. Yeah, 2 years before he's talking about. So, what the influenza pandemic was the most severe pandemic in the recent history. But we even don't, remember what happened. People were dying. We don't even know it. It was caused by an H1N1 virus with genes of avian origin. Although there is not universal consensus regarding where the virus originated, it spread worldwide during 1918-1919. In the United States, it was first identified in the military personnel. 1918, it was estimated that 500 million people, one third of the world population, became infected, and 50 million worldwide, with this much death in the United States. So it was that much death about occurring in the United States. Is it? So this is 6,75,000. I can't believe it. We were talking about this paper. And age, not the paper, we were looking the article. Novel coronavirus, immune system, no. Timeline, novel okay. I was reading an article, but need to find the article again. Where was it? Maybe we lost it. Right. We go again. We can search again, and then we will finish the article and move to other things. Why Spanish flu killed more young people? Why it did that? I'm going to select from here. I think this one we were looking for. Okay, so what we have learned so far? So this boy, right, we were looking. So far what we have looked, right, so we're talking about this can happen again, and that's what did happen. That's what did happen. So what can we do then? 2008. So Bill Gates is talking about, some people don't like vaccine, but I think there is no treatment of the flu, so only vaccine can prevent. The even antiviral we do invent, this virus attacks so fast that, and it doesn't give time to antibiotic. This is not kind of hepatitis virus, kind of AIDS virus, which will slowly deteriorate the body, but it reacts pretty fast. It doesn't give you the time. That's why the vaccine is the only solution left. Even we have good antibiotic can help some, but usually how much antiviral help is they can reduce in 1 day, recovery time 1 or 2 days, and that doesn't help much. The only thing can help is to reduce the inflammation in the lungs. That's why I was talking about some steroids, but in the beginning in 7 days we can't give because it can react with the immunity of the body, can slow down the immunity, and then virus can multiply more. There will be more viral load, which can cause more problems. That's why just doctors are trying to find what's the best treatment. So we were talking about here, unfortunately, because influenza virus muted rapidly. That's what we have talking about. And influenza virus is currently killing chicken. That's what we talk about. The chicken virus is in group 2. So we were talking about group 2, right? And this virus which 1918, so group 2, you remember which one was the group 2? It was which was the group 2? It was Russian flu, right? And 1889, that was in group 2. And then Hong Kong flu, which happened before. I can show you group 2, the group 2 virus, right? So this was the Hong Kong one, and group 1 was in 1981, and group 2 was when this boy was born, right? Adolfo, it was 1889, and then one after 1968, which was called Hong Kong. So this virus came again. No, if this virus came again, and if the people who were born at this time, if they are still there, right? So how old will be if this virus was the same? So they will be 42 plus now is 20. This is going to be 62, right? So and it was 2 years before. The 60 years old people will be affected more, but if it is a subtype of that one and it's a different kind of virus, that's one theory from the past we can propose. Um, so group 2, if it is, therefore it went pandemic people who were children around the time. Yeah, he's talking about same group 2. So he's saying it's pandemic. So this means the virus is behaving like that. That if you are exposed to the first virus, suppose now people who are getting coronavirus, this means if coronavirus changes, they will be affected more. That's what the theory is telling. They will be affected more if the virus is more fatal in the future, and people who are affected, so they can be more victim in the next virus attack. But there's a question here as well, that even someone, we are adopting social distancing rules, right? And we are trying to be away from this virus, right? So the one benefit you're going to have is in the future, if you suppose by you get in the future, you're going to be less, it's going to be have less, effect on you. That's one theory. uh, but if we look at the coronavirus of the previous type, the only this is going to happen if it is a subtype, different subtype. But if it is the same type, then you're going to have immunity. The same, the SARS virus people, I did read that the SARS virus people who was affected before, they have the coronavirus affected them less, as so they have a little bit immunity against coronavirus. So it depends on what kind of future virus is going to be. If it is going to be the same type, then people who have affected will have immunity. But if it is going to be different type, then it will work other way around. Suppose no, people don't, many people can save themselves, they don't get affected, but we affect them with vaccines, then of course scientists will make a vaccine which doesn't play a negative role like that. But that is really very tricky, that you have to predict what kind of virus is going to come in the future, and then you have to invent vaccines which doesn't does any side effect in the future. Well, scientists are really brilliant, and I know they will do their best, and they will, because they are even trying to invent a universal vaccine. But I did hear from the professor of Oxford 2 years ago that he was saying we're trying to invent, scientists are trying to invent a universal vaccine which works against every kind of flu. But how much time is it going to take? He said, I don't know, maybe 10 years, 20 or 30. So this also shows the invention of the vaccine, especially the proper vaccine, is really, really very difficult task, and it's not that easy. It's not that easy. Really, scientists have to work so much and have to do so much research. Then you can invent the right vaccine. Group 1 virus was circulating when I was a child. So he's talking about now. I was much born earlier, and a group 1 virus was circulating. So he's talking about group 1, which is 1918, when I was a child. If next pandemic virus is in group 2, I would probably be not be resistant. So that's what he's talking about. If there's a different virus, then you're not resistant. But if it is the same group, then you are resistant. So This means if suppose this is coronavirus, and the next coronavirus we give a group to this coronavirus, if this virus changes and another group, then people who have been infected they have less resistant. But if it is the same type, then they will have more resistance. The same will be the vaccine. If we vaccinate against this virus in the future, there is the same virus, then we will have a resistance. But if it is a different virus, they will work other ways around. But again, I'm saying the scientists will think about this, and they will do their best to invent a good vaccine which is better to boost the immunity against future viruses, because the real challenge is not this coronavirus, is again the future viruses as well. In the early days, I understand how prior exposure affects flu susceptibility. So if you're exposed prior, and so in the early days of for understanding how in the early days, we're talking about early days, right? I'm going to expand a little bit. I'm going to expand a little bit. In the it is the early days for understanding how prior exposure affects flu susceptibility. So if you he's saying, writers are talking about that is very early days. We are trying to understand if you're exposed to a flu virus and how susceptible you are in the future virus. We don't really know much, but we're trying to understand, especially for the people born in the last 3-4 decades. So if you have been born 3-4 decades, like 30 year or 40 year, since 1970 virus of the both group 1. So there was a virus in 1971, and that was a group 1, right? And group 2 have been in circulation. So since 1970 virus of both group, okay. So he's saying 1970 both type of viruses are in circulation. So this means the virus does differentiate between ages, because if you're born at a certain time, right, in 1977, there is he's saying, since that both viruses are circulating, then it does affect. If you're exposed to the group 1 virus, and then in the future you get exposed to the group 2, your immune system can react pretty bad. So it's better to avoid the viruses. That is one thing I will say. But the one way give you immunity. If you are exposed to the same virus, the immunity it can be only with the vaccination, I think. Yeah, so people born since they probably develop resistance to one or the both based on their initial viruses exposure. That's one thing the writer is talking about, that because both are circulating since this year. So if you are older than then, and then you have a resistance against both, right? And then if group 2 viruses came in 19, maybe I was more affected, right? And so in 2 years ago, the virus was group 2. So if you're exposed to the both kind of viruses before, so then of course you're going to be seriously affected. That's why this 1990, this 2 years 2018 virus killed so many people. But the thing is, we didn't have a lockdown. We didn't know about it. This virus is killing 10 times these previous one. That's why we have to shut down everything and do the social distancing. Some people would have been protected. So yes, if it is the same kind of virus, you have protected. At the same time, if you're under 14 and another pandemic is identified, right? If you're under 14, more information would be needed to hazard to guess whether you might be susceptible or resistant. So he's talking about age has a factor. This means age has a factor. So if we talk about coronavirus, right? Old people are affected because it's possibility this coronavirus is of a type which is in this coronavirus is of in falls in some group, right? Suppose we say in a group 2, and then old people have been exposed to a different kind of virus than coronavirus. Is the opposite group, is a subtype of this, and then that's why old people are affected more. That's one possibility, similar to 1918, is taking more lives of old people because they have been exposed to a subtype virus of this coronavirus. So they have been exposed to a different viruses which has is a subtype. It has a protein they have antibodies which react pretty bad when this virus is exposed. That's one theory we can get from there. Guess to whether you might be susceptible or resistant. So resistant is, you're going to you're going to manage quite well. Your immune system will manage quite well to neutralize the virus, and you will be like you won't have many symptoms. But susceptible is this is going to cause harm, inflammation, and then pneumonia, these kind of things, right? And so that's fine. I'm going to close this. Okay, we leave it open. But now we're going to talk about age, factor of this coronavirus. Age factor, right? So this was I was talking about New York, and now we look New York health. Yeah, male are affected more. So why male are affected more than females? We can look that one as well. Um, Scientists just believe that women are more clean, they do more washing, and that's one thing they think. And I don't know about this. Genetically, I can say the men has different hormones. They have the men hormones are testosterone, and testosterone has a role to reduce the immunity, and the female has estrogen that doesn't have that role. So the male immunity is less due to the hormone, the testosterone. But there's another questions overall. Yes, there's one hypothesis. Just data from the initial study in the China. What China did is February 28, because a pandemic was there at that time. What they have found is age. I'm talking about age. So if we look from the here 0 to 9, no fatality. So there's no, if there is no fatality, there is two speculation we can produce, right? We can give two proposals. One is that these children have not been exposed to a different subtype of the coronavirus, right? That's one possibility. It's quite right. And that's why these children are not reacting. Their immune system is not reacting. There is no cytokine storms. That's one possibility, right? So if this is the case, their immune system is not reacting. It doesn't bother. They don't have a resistance against this virus. And 10 to 19, they were not exposed as well, so they have been spared, right? And this is spared, right? And this is spared. No, this is not. This is double, 14 to 19. So maybe they have been exposed, right? But they have exposed to a subtype which is not much different, right? But 50 to 90 years are more exposed. Now if we look 50 to 90 years, we go back to the 50 90 years. So we go to 59, right? 60 years back is going to be 1960. So at that time there was a virus. 1960, we opened the pandemic flu. We can look. I think I did look. Yeah, this is a pandemic. 1980 pandemic. Why did the flu kill? Right. I'm just going to look something. I was looking all the pandemics, but I can't find here. Okay. Right. Try to find again. COVID-19 infection. We don't need that. Tuberculosis vaccine. Maybe we open again, but so many things I'm going to open. Sorry. So we look again. All flu pandemics. Right, all flu pandemics, right? Past pandemics, right? Center of Disease Controls Prevention, CDC. So we're going to go 60 years back in 1960. So do you see any in 1960? This is pandemic, right? 1957 to 1958. So this pandemic could have a role. 32 plus 20, this is going to be 58. So and this is H3N2 virus, right? This is a different kind of virus. This is again N2, but is H2. Uh, Now, if I look at the 1918 pandemic, this will be another, and then scientist special feature. Now, we at the same time we open the coronavirus. Now I'm going to lose this one. Well, we have looked at this one. Okay, so if we go the nine coronavirus, coronavirus, is its type? So this is coronavirus, and if we look at the type, the rabin virus. Order phylum. This is a single strand RNA virus, and the positive RNA. The particles coronavirus. This is different. Not coronavirus even. Coronavirida. Oh, this is a phylum of this one. Coronavirida suborder. This is suborder. Sorry. Let me go here in a. You don't need suborder here. I need coronavirus. So we will close this one and open something which says coronavirus. RNA coronavirus. Coronavirus strain we can find out. Coronavirus strain. Coronavirus strain. Coronavirus subtype. Maybe we look subtype. Expert react to study looking whether there are two. Okay, coronavirus human coronavirus type CDC. Disease knowledge, maybe we can find something here. Coronavirus type. What is that? Coronavirus type is infection. This is SARS. Coronavirus-19 is acute cause of infection with the coronavirus subtype. So this was okay. That's why this is a subtype of this one. That's why the people who have been exposed to this, because it is the same subtype and not a different subtype, they have some immunity, right? First infected in Wuhan. But the thing is, the thing we were looking for is whether the same subtype or different subtype as before. So what we know is coronavirus human subtype. Maybe CDC has something here. So alpha coronavirus, and these are beta. So these are different coronaviruses. So this is SARS beta. SARS was a beta virus, right? SARS was a beta. So I was talking about this one, alpha. These were NL63 alpha, and then beta HKUOC. Other human viruses, this is MERS, and what it was a beta, right? So and then SARS, so it was the same kind of severe respiratory, all according respiratory. So these were the same kind. So if you are exposed to one, the other after exposing to other, so revision is taking me, exposing to other won't harm much, right? The body won't react the bad way. So this is one thing we can say. So SARS-CoV-2, and then a novel coronavirus that causes coronavirus disease, and answer, but what is the type beta alpha? What sometimes coronavirus that in animal evolve make the people sick and become new human coronavirus. Three recent examples of this is COVID-19, SARS-CoV. So these are three. But if we compare it, is that the same type or different? I think it's the same type, because that's why they're saying the SARS people who were infected with this one before in China, and so they have, what happened is they reacted, their reaction was little bit less, it was less lethal, right? Their immunity reacted in a good way, right? So with COVID-19, that's what we learned, because they were same type. Now this is 2019, and these are before. What else we need to know? No, we going to focus now. I'm going to open age type that yes. So 50 and then 60 to 69 is chances getting more. So 60 to 69, this means these people are born in 1960. Yeah, yes, 1960. If someone born in 1960 is 60 years old or before. So I think I will take this one. Any virus which was before 1960, right? That is the one we know, 1957 one, which is called Hong Kong flu. I think if someone is exposed to that one, the old people will have been exposed. This coronavirus could be the different subtype of that one. So that's one possibility. These people are reacting more. So if we look all the coronavirus again, the thing is by links. Maybe I need to search it again. And right, so many. Right, so I'm going to search again. Coronavirus subtype, coronavirus mechanism, maybe something here recently closed. I haven't closed then. Okay. Uh, keep opening links, it will slow down. Uh, so, past flu pandemics, right? Past flu pandemics. And then if we go here, CDC, um, so 1968, so 1957, this pandemic is so if someone is exposed to this one, of course he's going to be above 60, right? They're going to react pretty bad. So maybe these pandemic people who've been exposed, coronavirus is a different kind, and they are reacting pretty bad. History of the flu pandemic, 1930 today, 19. But why the 80 people who are more than 80, they are been affected more. So they must have been some kind of virus which is 1940. So CDC doesn't give much detail here. I'm going to go some the influenza pandemics here, and we will have more years here. Okay, so yeah, so 1918 Spanish flu, 1957 Asian flu. I don't see before any flu, 1968. So if someone is Asian flu, right, this is called Asian flu. So if this is the if it was Asian flu, right? The Asian people must have been affected, and if they are in this, they were born at that time, 57. They're going to be like 60, above 60. So they, if this virus is a different type, subtype, then those people born at that time can be affected more. Hong Kong flu. This is after, right? I don't see any pandemics which can affect more than 80 years people. The thing is, those 80 more than 80 years people, if there is any pandemic, I can't find here. But of course, that time may not be reported. But it could be another reason. It's their immune system quite weak due to old age. It's aged. It could be the reasons. But what we can say is that 19 someone born in 1953 is now 43 plus 20, 63, right? So if someone is born not right this time, even if, before, that's another thing. Someone is 10 years at that time, right? Oh, I see. So if someone is 10 years at that time, and 57 is 1947 is going to be 73, that person has been exposed to this virus, right? 1957-58 pandemics. So if this coronavirus is a different subtype, then that's why those people are affected more. So if 80 years people are very badly affected, so this can be the subtype coronavirus of different subtype of this one. And then at that time, their age was, suppose 1957, the age, if someone born this time, the age will be and 43 plus 20, 63, and we can add another 17 years. So if someone was 17 as 1957, born in 1940, now will be 80 years. So 1940, still they have been exposed to this virus because 17 years boy, can catch this virus. So the thing is, it has to do something with Spanish flu. We can speculate from the history, right? But then what can we do? It can be just to try to calm down the immune system, the side effects, inflammation, to control the inflammation, right? And control the what immune system is doing. We can't. I think we can't reduce the like suppress the immune system because the virus is spreading, is replicating quite fast. It needs to be neutralized. But what the body is doing to neutralize the inflammation, that can be controlled once the viral is over, virus replication is over. It has been neutralized like in about 7 days. After that, yes, this the steroids and other drugs which doctor know can reduce the inflammation in the lungs. If it is any bacterial infection, the timely treatment of that, yes, these kind of things can help the patients to recover. But this is something going on. So one speculation is, one proposal is this one. The other proposal, if we give, is right, is that those people have been the people who have not been affected. It looks to me the more kind of proposal is going to be this one which we talk about. But other we talking about is I'm going to open age related. Other things we are talking about is that these children have immunity due to vaccination, right? And the vaccine is a type which is a coronavirus type, right? It is subtype, but not a different subtype. It's the same group, right? And we look at the group, the coronavirus. We're going to look at the coronavirus, what kind of virus this is, and then we're going to look at the vaccines, and then when the vaccine was given. And so this will we will look at the opportunity, explore the opportunity. Is there any vaccine which has given the immunity to these people, especially the younger than 50 years? So we will look at the vaccines which are in the market since 50 years, right? And then recently the vaccine. So we're going to have a little bit look about right now about we're going to look timeline of vaccine and then immunization program. We will look coronavirus, which is RNA virus. First type, what kind of virus is a RNA virus that has a RNA nucleoside. It is a genetic material, so it has a RNA single strand. This nucleoside is usually single strand. Yes, is a single strand, and then you see this is you see the ribonucleoside, right? Is a polymeric molecule, various biology. So you can see this one, regulation and expression of gene. There are genes, they are producing protein inside these cells. That's why it needs you, it need a human, an animal, to produce the protein and to multiply, but it does have RNA, right? This is kind of seed. It's just a seed and it grows on a fertile land. Fertile land is lungs, our noses, right? Throat. So lipid, protein, carbohydrate does need and will take from the cells. That's why when someone catches it, feels very exhausted because it's producing all your energy in the cells, producing its viruses and then killing the cells. Is actually busting the cells because there will be so many viruses. The skin of the lungs will be burst because it will open. It will so many viruses inside the cells that cells has to burst, and the virus will come out. It will attack the new cells. This is the way this virus multiplies, and it multiplies pretty fast. This is single strand, double strand, right? Okay. So we're talking about RNA virus. This is a RNA virus, a positive strand. But other thing we're going to look is what kind of similar viruses are, and if there is any vaccination against that virus that has a given immunity to the children. So RNA viruses, common cold is RNA virus, influenza is RNA viruses, right? SARS virus, COVID-19, all these are RNA viruses. So if someone has vaccination against influenza, do they have immunity? Well, the same kind of viruses are, and, is same kind of RNA, or we don't know. So hepatitis C is also the same kind of virus, but and there is no vaccine for that because there are so many types, so we can't say anything. Hepatitis E, West Nile fever, Ebola viruses, rabies, polios, measles, these are the same RNA viruses. And the international community classify RNA viruses as that they belong to the group 3 and 4 and 5. So they have different groups, right? 3, 4, 5. Uh, they classify like that. So they are different groups. So if one virus in the same group, right? So whether one vaccination can give the immunity against the future the same kind of viruses, well, there is a possibility if it is the same group. So group 4, 3, 4, 5, right? System is classifying virus and does not consider viruses with a DNA intermediate in their life cycles as RNA viruses. Viruses with RNA as their genetic material, which to also include DNA intermediate in the replication cycle. Retrovirus. So this is not a retrovirus, the coronavirus. It doesn't need a DNA and comprises group 4. So these are these just talking about group 4. If we look at the group, this is DSR positive sense. So positive and sense is a coronavirus. So if we look at the positive sense, SARS RNAs. So this is one order. Yes, this is the coronavirus order, virus family. So we look all. So these all viruses are same type. So if there is any, so if they are same type, so there is a little bit possibility. Although we need, trials and the more scientific evidence. So the thing is, these viruses are a same group. So if you have a vaccination of these, any one of them, can it help? Well, the way children are immune, we don't know. But we just look. These are Roni Verida, right? And then what else is here? Different. Well, have you recognized any of this? These are just families. So, genes. Okay. Right. These are names again. Blackford virus. Sure, so many, right? We're not going to look at this one, and only thing we're going to look is this is RNA virus, a positive strand RNA. Positive sense. What is a positive sense? We're going to look at this one. A positive sense single strand RNA viruses is a virus that uses positive sense single strand RNA in genetic material. So it does use positive single, so positive single strand, right? So a base pair a unit consisting of two nucleosides bound to each other by hydrogen bond, right? So this is the we don't need base pair to understand, but only this is a positive sense. Positive sense. What is it? A positive sense in molecular biology. Positive sense is a nucleoside molecule, particularly of a strand. DNA or RNA refers to the nature of the role of strand and its complement specifying the sequence of amino acid depending on the contact. Sense may be slightly different, meaning, for example, no, don't need to go much detail of this, but the positive sense strand is the positive, we say to the positive essence. The RNA virus is the virus that use positive sense single strand RNA. So it does use a positive sense, right? Single strand RNA. Molecular biology, the sense of a nucleoside molecule, particularly of a strand of RNA, right? Refer to nature of the role of the strand and it complement and specifying a sequence of amino acids. But the thing is, it is the RNA strand, right? It is going to specify what sequence of amino acid is going to attach when it is going to replicate. So depending on the context, sense may be slightly different. So due to this, scientists are given the positive sense and negative sense. What kind of sequence of the amino acid is going to come during replication next to the one RNA strand? Positive sense viral can serve as a messenger RNA and can translate into protein. So the role of these RNA is protein. So that's why it forms protein. A protein, the coronavirus forms inside the cells of the humans. All the material it will take from our body cells, and that's why we feel exhausted. So a host cell is going to be our, and it just has a RNA, right? It just has a plate to eat, and all the food is going to come from the human cell. Positive sense RNA virus belong to the group 4. Yeah, this is the group 4 we have already seen. Positive sense RNA virus account for the large fraction of the non-virus. So this is the very large virus, the many including many pathogens such as hepatitis C virus is the same. West Nile virus is also this kind of virus. Is a fever member of the family, right? West Nile virus. So pathogens such as SARS-CoV-2, yes, this is the same kind of virus. MERS, also this is the Middle East respiratory syndrome, and these are the same kind of viruses, right? Now we're not going to go any detail, but we understand this is a positive sense, right? Messenger RNA, it can be directly translated into protein in a host cell by host ribosomes. Only need ribosome it can take from the cells, and it doesn't need anything. It can directly go to form a protein. That's why it replicates very fast, because it doesn't need anything to replicate. It directly start forming protein, right? So the first protein. No, this is quite scientific. I'm not going to go in detail. We look something. We're going to understand why the coronavirus is affecting, old people. Still, we have this question, and right. So, what else we want to learn? We have to look at the vaccines, and then we will finish that. What vaccines and is given to the children, and when the vaccine started. That's what we're going to do. Timeline of the vaccines. If we see the timeline of the vaccines, so these are different vaccines which have been invented. Now we're not going to look at the bacterial vaccines, right? Because it's pretty hard to say. Although I did hear the tuberculosis give the, is a speculation that tuberculosis vaccine can give immunity against coronavirus. We will look at that one. But the viruses in 1884, so people born at that time, they should have cholera vaccines, right? If they have gone rabies, everyone, right? This is the dog bite vaccines. Tetanus, people should have tetanus viruses. Infection. So this is in 1890 it was discovered. So someone is 30 years old, right? The probability they have this vaccine, tetanus and typhoid fever, 1896, right? Just like 24 years ago. And then this is very old vaccine, bubonic plague by bacterium. I don't think people are getting this one, right? And 20th century vaccines, right? This is, oh, these are all old viruses, right? Old vaccines. So these old people should have these all. So this doesn't have, we can ignore all these. It won't have any effect because only children are less affected. So we can look this vaccine, tuberculosis. So if tuberculosis vaccine has any effect, then people who were born at this time, because the invention is this time, 80 years, so many people would have tuberculosis vaccines. And then I don't know there is any role then. But if we look at the tuberculosis vaccine, they say it does have immunity. We looked a little bit about this, but it's quite old vaccine. And if it is given 1921, only thing we can look is the country which don't use it. So that's the research going on. We'll find out as there is any role. This is quite old vaccines. It protects the lungs from the tuberculosis. Is something to do with the lungs, like a pneumonia vaccine. But whether does it protect you from a flu? We don't know. Because I hope the many old people will have this vaccine. So if they are the target of coronavirus, then how can we say this has a role? Well, we have to think about. The scientist has to do the research, right? So this is quite old vaccine. So I won't expect only vaccine we're going to consider is because after 50 we have seen after 50 more people less than 50 years less target. So any vaccine which is 50 years old, right, um, uh, that vaccine has effect. So 1970, so we will start from 1970. So this vaccine now going to have, I think, effect upon this one. We can ignore this one, vaccine of tetanus, because old people, they should have this one as well. So we just going to look, going to ignore all this and ignore all this. So influenza is still 19 is invented in 1945. So but suppose it started in 1950, right? Still many people have influenza virus. So does it have any role? If, the thing is how much people are getting. I think we are giving to the old people, so it doesn't have any role, I think. Because we're giving to the old people already. If they're still dying, this means this influenza has no role. Maybe if it is a subtype of this virus, mean different subtype, it can be it has a even negative effect. Well, I shouldn't say that, but the thing is, if it is a different subtype, don't know the subtype, don't know about that. But if it is a different subtype like the Spanish flu, we have already discussed the Spanish flu, and we also discussed the Russian flu and then Hong Kong flu. If influenza virus we have given to the old people, which was a different subtype of this coronavirus, they will react pretty bad. But I don't know it was what kind. Now the polio vaccine is this time, so still this is 70 years old, so still we can't say this virus has any effect. This, although this is kind of same virus, but we can't say. We will start from 1970. After that, right? We're just looking these vaccines. Polio vaccine again 1960. So we're going to look mumps virus, rubella virus, after 1970. So rubella virus, right, is also known as German measles 3-day. So it's an infection caused by rubella virus. This disease is often mild, half of the people not realizing. Okay, so this is 1970, so 50 years. So 50 years people are less victim of this from the China we found. Then we can say, we can speculate, we can propose whether this vaccine has any role. Chickenpox has any role because in 1974, right? And then pneumonia has any role. Well, this is a lung disease. This can have. You know why? Because after viral infection, people can develop bacterial pneumonia because the lung will be prone to infections. Lung will be inflamed, right? So if someone has a vaccine of pneumonia, they won't get bacterial infection, and bacterial infection can cause complications if people are getting secondary infection. So this vaccine can have a role to reduce the mortality. But if children are, because anyone who is born 1977, and if they have this vaccine, right, so that's one vaccine I think it can help. So this 1977, that's why the young people we can propose, we can speculate that anyone who is born at 1977 and after, if they have this vaccine, um, they will catch the coronavirus, but they won't get the bacterial pneumonia. That's what we can say. And if a bacterial pneumonia is causing, of course, it will be contributing towards death, right? So um, those young people would be like they will get less complications. And other vaccine, this one meningitis is the Durham. So this is meningitis. This one, right, is referred to as is gram-negative bacteria. That's called meningitis. So this is a bacterial. So bacteria we have to ignore, I think. Bacteria we have to ignore because a virus can be, the vaccine against one virus and then similar kind of virus comes, then that vaccine can give immunity. um, we have to ignore, I think, bacterial vaccines. So this is hepatitis B vaccine. Then, if that is the case, the doctor shouldn't care. Doctor should, because many doctors are, I think, vaccinated against this hepatitis B, and they should have less chance to get complications. If we check in Italy, the doctors' death rate was pretty less than the public. Yeah, but they were wearing, even they were very exposed. So we can't say anything, but they might have a role, right? So these kind of trials, these kind of research need to be done. And this is an influenza B 1985. Well, if it is developed at that time, but the thing is, it can work other way around as well. I mean, if the people who have got this one before, if their death rate is more, then we can say this was a different subtype. So this didn't help, right? So and then this is a fever, is a disease caused by infection. This one bacterium. So this is a bacteria. We have to ignore. Hepatitis A, this is a virus. Well, this can have a role because this is a virus. And if someone has vaccinated in A, because this is a virus, if it is has some kind of genetic material which is little bit similar to coronavirus, it might help. And we can assume the young people are spared because, but there is another question, right? These are just assumptions, right? um, I think why the children are just spared? Why not all? Were they not vaccinated against these vaccines? Because this there's a possibility they would happen. But the thing is, there might not be that possibility because children, there is a program to vaccinate children different vaccines. Maybe the old were not the target of our vaccination program, and they don't have these vaccines. That's one proposal. The other proposal is, of course, if they were the vaccinated with the same ratio, with the same intensity, the old people, then our first proposal is right. I mean, the old people have been exposed before 1958 at that time to a virus which was a different subtype of the coronavirus. So they have been exposed previously, but the young generation not exposed, right? So how good is to protect yourself to not expose to the virus? Um, I think it's good because the more damage you get is if you have been already exposed to the virus, right? And then after that you're exposed to uh, that kind of virus, right? Which antibodies, um, uh, which antibodies are the reaction of the immune system, goes pretty bad. It works against you, so it's better to not expose them. But then, what is the role of vaccines? The vaccines, I think scientists are going to solve this issue that if we will vaccinate, it doesn't create a problem in the future. So this is hepatitis A, and then lymph disease is known as an infection caused by bacteria, so we're going to ignore. And then rotavirus is a vaccine used to protect against rotavirus infection, which is the leading cause of severe diarrhea. So this is a diarrhea one. I think we can consider that one. Oh, its role is its structure is similar to corona. So if I'm not going to say this is very similar, but if you look, it look like but similar. So if the structure is similar, and then if it has some genetic material same, scientists have to look. I think that could be the young people are, the coronavirus is sparing them. It's not sparing their immune system is pretty, cracked. It takes them, from grab them from the way that virus replication doesn't cause damage or it doesn't replicate pretty well. I did hear that children have quite a lot of viral load, but the thing is their immune system is not reacting like the old people. So The more proposal is that only the old people have been exposed. The more chance of right proposal is the old people have been exposed to a virus which was different subtype, and the young people have not been exposed. Because I did hear the children, the virus is multiplying in their nose everywhere, but even it is multiplying, maybe the is getting neutralized, right? So this vaccine has some role. So we don't know, we need to research, right? And then this is influenza vaccines, right? So but thing is who got them, so we have to research if someone got, whether they badly affected or they infected, or they were spared. We don't know. So we need to look at this one. This is papillomavirus. Who has been given this? We need to find out whether this and what kind of this vaccine is. Oh, human HPV infection, infection caused by human HPV, abundant HPV infection caused by symptoms to resolve. HPV infection persist results Watts percentage. So this is different kind of infection. HPV infection caused by human papillovirus. This is also virus, so this can have a role. Who has been given? Whether there's any effect, we need to find out. Right, we need to find out. We can't say like this. There should be, I think, study that people who have the more victim of coronavirus, whether they have any of such vaccines or they don't have any such vaccines. We know what the children vaccines have. We can look at that one. Vaccine of malaria, I think, is now very famous, and also this is. Yeah, no very. I think not much used. Just 2015 vaccines for dengue fever, 2015 mosquito. So these fever, these are red blood cells disease, right? They kills to the red blood cells. Whether all these things I think need to be studied 2009, but I think these, because 9-year children are very less spared, so if we go 9 years back, it's going to be 2013. So we're going to look these vaccines, right? 0 to 9, so these have more roles. So which one is given to the children, we need to look, because only children, they have been they have reacted pretty well. So which so if we just look at these ones which have been invented, these are 4 strain influenza virus, but now whether children are getting this virus influenza vaccine, we need to look. And then what else these fours, um, there is no, there is now everyone getting malaria one, Ebola one. This is recent, so I think we can ignore. This is now Ebola didn't spread. So then what is left? The dengue fever 2015, mosquito borne. I'm not sure who is getting, so don't have any idea. This is and this virus we have already checked. Now we go to the children and then we look at the vaccination. Then it can help, right? We are going to finish after checking vaccines. We have to summarize. So if we check the China, so what they do in 1 month hepatitis B. So they have hepatitis B vaccine. We were talking about also tuberculosis, right? So tuberculosis vaccines. I did read tuberculosis vaccines create immunity, right, against cancer. So if any vaccine create immunity against cancer, and the viruses immunity are quite similar to the cancer immunity. So if your body immune system is strong to kill the cancer cells, you can kill, your immune system can kill, neutralize the virus as well. Well, there's a proposal, is speculation, research need to be done. And then hepatitis B vaccines children are getting there, and this is uh, DAM polio vaccines, right? Polio vaccine children have. This is also virus, right? And then they have diphtheria vaccines, right? This is bacterial infection, whooping cough, tetanus vaccine they have, and the polio. So polio vaccine is a virus, so if this has any role, need to investigate. And then um, this is second dose, right? This is pneumococcal. I was talking about pneumonia. So that vaccine must have an effect, because coronavirus secondary infection is bacteria, right? So this vaccine we can say with the confidence it has some effect on the mortality. Hepatitis B vaccines, right? We need to look at the children we're giving to the children, and they are immune to complications of the coronavirus. So MMR vaccines is a vaccine against measles, mumps, and rubella. So whether old people are getting this measles, they have taken before, that can tell us whether these all the vaccines, rubella, also known as German measles of 3 day, so whether they have been vaccinated again. So vaccine has something to do, right? If it has something to do, we can check whether old people have these vaccines, and then we can differentiate which vaccine they don't have. Well, there's a lot of good study need to be done. And this is also chicken pox vaccines. So the viral vaccines of the one thing we can look is the coronavirus structure is RNA, is genetic material, and we can look whether any of this virus genetic material is bit similar. How much percentage the genetic material is the same of these viruses. So if the more closer the genetic material, is more chance that these vaccines can help. So we need to look at their structures, their sequence, right? And then these are the another vaccine children getting is MMR vaccine, is combined virus and MMR. So again, this is a virus vaccines, and this is human papillovirus. Again, this is a virus vaccine 10. So these all above vaccines, I think some of them should have a role. That's why children. So there's one proposal, right? And children have but the thing is, if we can investigate these vaccines has any role, and then to the weak and old people, we can give. If we reach at a conclusion that these virus, yes, they did have a role in giving immunity to coronavirus, then we can use some of these vaccines, which we find out to the old, weak people before there is any coronavirus vaccines come, because that's going to be take 1 or 2 years. So the right now we need to look at these vaccines and find out if there is any role, right? So this is HPV vaccines, right? And then 11 years. So these are the vaccines that are given, and this is the vaccination program Hong Kong, and the death rate we checked from the same country, right? The China, right? So we found these peoples are more victims. So one proposal is these 80 years don't have a vaccine which these have, but 70 90 also have some vaccines, or they either have been exposed to a virus, right, which is helping them to fight little bit more better than coronavirus. There's one proposal, but again there is a factor of immunity with aging. So all these things need to take into account. But what's the difference between 60 and 80-year age? Again, 70 is death mortality is changing here, but I would assume that after 50 you are 1.3, and then 3 times you are prone after 10 years. um, well, that's quite complicated subject, that whether aging has any role. It does have that above 80 years old they are more victim, but if considering the coronavirus, it did spare to the above 50 years old, but here it is not sparing. Then I thought we discuss whether there is any role of exposure of the previous virus to the body, and then the way the immune system is reacting to the current coronavirus.